The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday and welcome into the show. Hope you're all doing well out there and gearing up for the weekend. And shout out to all of you tuning in today, really given the circumstances in Fayetteville, right? It's a big weekend over here in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, not only is the number one team in the country coming to Baum Stadium starting tonight, it's Texas, and it's in their debut season in the SEC. It should be electric over there on the diamond. But here over in basketball land, I mean, hey, it's finally May. Does that mean we can sleep now? In a way, I hope so, because, the squad's going to move on to campus in about 4 weeks to start summer workouts. And then it's going to be an all different type of conversation. But we still have a little ways to go before said squad is finalized, right? And the show must go on. And it's going to go on. And we do know that the show is presented by our friends over at the Eye Center of Northwest Arkansas, where every patient receives the best of new vision care technology from their award-winning eye doctors, as well as that old-fashioned personal attention that makes you feel right at home. The Eye Center covers the full spectrum from that custom cataract surgery to refractive lens exchange and everything else in between. Give them a call, 479-442-2020. Check out the website at www.eyecenternwa.com for more info, and then be sure to get registered for their social media giveaway before it's too late. A quick reminder about that. Once again, the Eye Center is giving away a free pair of Urker sunglasses plus 50 units of Botox in partnership with their nurse injector, Olivia Risch. If you want to get in on the drawing, all you have to do is hop over to Instagram, throw a like, follow, and tag to the Eye Center Fayetteville and Injector Olivia NWA. The winner will be announced on May the 9th. All right. Let's get into it, and maybe we'll just start as usual with some notes and tidbits from around the college basketball landscape. Some interesting stuff going on out there. First, the staff, they're still trying to finalize the roster for this coming season, but they got eyes on the future too with the 2026 class. And according to Adam Zagoria, John Calipari sent one of his assistants out to Archbishop Stepanak. That sounds familiar. What? The home of Boogie Fland, right? To check in on a couple of twin towers, Darius and Adonis Ratliff. 4-star for now, duo that both stands over 6'11", about 200 pounds, skinny, athletic, very, very skilled. I would imagine both of those guys would be in line for a rankings bump with a good summer here. Obviously, Arkansas has a good relationship with the staff over there. Heck, they sent half the school to Madison Square Garden to watch Boogie Fland when Arkansas went up there to play Michigan last season. That was a really, really awesome scene to see. I mean, he wasn't kidding when he said there was 200 people there to see him. And yeah, it was family and friends and stuff, but it was old teammates, old coaches, people from that school. So a good relationship there. We know that Arkansas has a history with twin big men. Does that excite you with Makai and Mikel? I mean, I don't know. I'll let you make up your own mind about that. But good stuff. See the Razorback staff out there recruiting a little bit, and I think this is going into a quiet period in the calendar, at least temporarily, and things are really gonna start heating up with the EYBL getting into full swing, and I'm sure Cal will be out and about, and it's going to be kind of fun throughout the course of the summer, following those guys around on the trail. And we're going to get into the 2026 names to watch here in the next few days, but we can certainly add the twins here to the list. And of course, local legacy, right? JJ Andrews, it's announcing May 14th between Arkansas, LSU, and Missouri. A tighter race than one might expect, for Sean Andrews' son of all people. But as we sit here today, I like Arkansas's chances with JJ. I do. And I think it would be an awesome ad. Sometimes you take an in-state guy and it's like, oh, well, it's cool that they're in-state, but if they were from Nebraska or something, you wouldn't be that excited about it. I think anybody in the country would be excited about a guy like JJ, just chiseled from granite. I mean, he just looks like a grown man. He has for the longest, but 6'6", 200, high 4-star prospect. And, he's a top 50 prospect in all recruiting services except shocker On3, who has him 20 spots lower than anybody else down at 62. Maybe with On3 buying out rivals, the two can come together and put out a decent set of rankings moving forward. That would be nice to see. But so we'll see where Arkansas is at in the mix there over the course of the next couple of weeks. That would be a heck of a way to start that 2026 class. a good player, and a legacy guy. He would immediately be a fan favorite, right? I mean, how could he not be? So eyes on that. What else? Ugana Onyenso, a guy that we've talked about quite a bit, former Kentucky big man under Cal, who didn't follow Cal to Arkansas, but was at Kansas State last year. We talked about him a couple episodes as, a potential third option, rim protecting specialist if they were trying to add another big man. He's going to Virginia, which again, just it feels weird because he doesn't seem like a Virginia player, but I've really got to get past the Tony Bennett's not there anymore. Ryan Odom is. It's just going to be a completely different style of basketball than it has been in the past. But good on him. Good luck to him. What else? Oh, did you guys see the interest for Melo Sanchez out of the transfer portal? Had some good schools on there. High Point was just in the NCAA tournament. Fresno State was on there. Several Division I's, including UC Riverside. I see you, Gus Arginal. I mean, get my man Melo and let him be great. Every team needs a sniper. And Melo Sanchez could be that for you, Gus. I'm going to have to call him. Tell him to take the man. Let's do it. Pretty cool stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing where he lands. And all those guys, really, who, we can say what we want about, their role. And it was kind of unique and different, right? Where they're scholarship walk-ons, but basically just practice players out there, break glass in case of emergency type guys. And hell, Arkansas was running the risk of playing with 4 people at times, and they rarely broke that glass. But at the end of the day, they all contributed, to the cause there. And they were all part of the Sweet 16 team, all part of the locker room and the chemistry and the camaraderie that they had. I wonder where Cass Chavis winds up. The dude's dance parties in the locker room during the NCAA tournament were hilarious. And all those guys loved him. You could tell. Where does Melo wind up? I'm going to be anxious to see. And I want to follow those guys too. I hope that they go and do well wherever they wind up. So moving on a little bit, and some of the main things I want to talk about today, and you can see if you're, I guess if you saw the title of the show or if you're looking here at the graphic on YouTube, it's just the Razorbacks kind of flirting with some familiar faces and some old phases, right? Having a little bit of fun here. We'll start with the old phases, maybe. Somebody on Inside Arkansas Live Wednesday brought this to my attention. So I said I was going to go give it a listen, and I told everybody to tune in because I was going to talk about it, and here I am. But Coach Z, Matt Zimmerman, by the way, like you hear him talk on the radio and different shows and Razorback Daily and everything, and a hard guy not to love. Getting to know him over the course of the last few years, one of the most genuine dudes and lovers of everything Razorbacks that there are out there. Absolutely love Coach Z. He's the man. But he was doing an interview with Razorback assistant Chuck Martin, and they were both, just kind of cheesing a little bit, in fun, hypothetical, but still over the idea of running Trevon Brazile at the 3 in a big lineup next season. I absolutely love both of those guys. I just gushed over Z as much as I could. And I know ball. Okay. I'm not going to sell myself short here, but I also know that they darn sure do as well. And they've done it at a much higher level than I ever have. So this is all in good fun. It's not me trying to come off as telling anyone how to do their jobs, but just giving my opinion on something, having a little bit of fun on a quiet day. But if you followed me at all, you know how passionate I am about this. I just have one request on this front. Even if it wasn't necessarily a serious conversation or foreshadowing of plans, they're just throwing stuff out there casually. Please do not do that. Please don't. I'm begging you. Do not play Trevon Brazile at the 3. Don't do it. We have seen this movie before, and we don't need a sequel. We don't need to see it again. It was one of Eric Musselman's biggest mistakes at Arkansas. Trying to make TB a wing when he came back from injury. I'm bullish about this now. This is something I'm passionate about, man. It zapped his aggressiveness. I thought it neutralized his strengths. I think it put him in disadvantageous positions defensively. It felt like coaching malpractice. I felt like it held the team back. Now, I'm not saying if they would have just played him exclusively at the 4 or whatever, or utilized him differently, that team would have been better and made the NCAA tournament. No, they stunk. They had a lot of bad things going on. Failed experiment. Didn't work out. But do we really feel like he was utilized to his strengths there? we point to like a Dew getting hurt and Trevon having more opportunity. I think when we credit the breakout that TB had at the end of last season, and that has a lot to do with it for sure. But the other big part of it was I felt like he finally fully embraced that attack dog mentality. Remember Cal talking about that and Trevon, in the preseason, the press conferences and everything leading up to the year, that Cal wanted him to be a tag dog. Don't settle for the threes, get aggressive, be more physical. They've really, really hammered that home, trying to instill it. And he looked like an attack dog to me down the stretch of the year. Remember how confident and tough and aggressive TB was playing those last 9 games? Late in the season in some of those huge moments, the NCAA tournament, look like a completely different animal out there. Flying to the glass, playing above the rim, not settling, attacking off the bounce. Remember last year, it was like catch on the wing, little jab step, 2 dribbles middle, kick it out, right? And that was it, the end. Or it was a catch and shoot 3. There's nothing else going on there. He was getting all the way to the rack, driving baselines on dudes, dunking it on them. Really, really looks so much more confident. Just an absolute problem at the rim. The kind of guy, in fairness, as we look now, where you can tell that Arkansas is making a big investment in him because of the way he played at the end of the year. The whole season didn't go well for him. The end of the year did. And, we know that mentality is so important for TB. And, Cal even said his biggest battle was within himself. It's between the ears. If you believe that, I'm begging you to not tell that man he is a wing. Do not put that in his mind that he is a guard. Don't do it, right? Plus, he's the only 4 on your roster who's played a minute of college basketball. But let him be great where he's great. All right. Rant over. But I had to do. I told everybody I was going to talk about it. I had to talk about it. And again, it's all in good fun. But no, seriously, please don't play him at the 3. If you followed me for a while, you know how triggering this was for me to see Trevon just wasting away with Muss trying to turn him into a guard because he felt like that was the next step of his development. And again, Eric Musselman knows he's forgotten more about basketball than I'll ever know, but man, it just didn't work. And the things that I've always thought he was really good at weren't there. No ball screens, no lobs, no pick and pop. It was maddening, man. Maddening. Anyway, I will say this, and again, literally it's just a random aside in an interview. They were actually talking about Malik Ewan. It was a really good listen. You ought to go check it out. But this is a daily show here that needs some fresh talking points. So here I am. But let's assume in a hypothetical world here for a minute that they were entertaining the possibility of playing Trevon at the 3. Wouldn't that be pretty telling that they either feel really good about another potential addition in the front court, because outside of Ewan and Pringle, Brazil's kind of your guy, right? So either that, which I hope is the case. Like I really do hope that they do not go into the season with only 3 big men again. At least get another body down there. Or B, maybe they're way higher on Karim Rtail than most others, which I actually have some reason to believe is the case. And it is interesting, and is something else that I wanted to bring up. I've exchanged messages with a pair of international scouts on Kareem since his commitment. Full disclosure, one who had really knew who he was, hadn't done a full evaluation on him. He came across as skeptical based on what he had heard and what he knew about the league and everything like that. Okay, whatever. Maybe take that with a grain of salt. The other who just didn't think he was SEC material. Just being honest with you guys on what I was told there. Okay, whatever. Do we trust, Coach Cal and, Chuck Martin and the evaluation of those guys probably more than these scouts who may or may not have watched the dude play much? I think we should. So I went beyond the highlights last night, couldn't sleep, and watched as much actual film as I could find. And it wasn't a ton, but it was a decent amount, a hell of a lot more than I had. A few thoughts that I wanted to share on Kareem. One, this is not me saying start Rtail or he's going to be a star, or, trying to overhype him because I think Arkansas is done with their roster or anything like that. That's not the case. But I will say, to my semi-trained eye, he looks better than the early feedback I received. And I want to give him credit for that because in ways, especially in terms of, the rotation, everything like that, I've just kind of written it off based on what I was told. For starters, in the league he played in over in Lithuania professionally, it's a tier 2. It's a second tier league. It is. But it is one that's very commonly used by young developing talent that moves up either to bigger league, the Euro League or whatever, or they come over to the States for college or wind up going to the NBA. The competition level isn't consistent SEC level stuff. It's not, but it's better than I thought. I was also, I think, more impressed maybe with his showings. He played with the Lebanese national team, FIBA, put up some really, really good numbers with the junior national team. He was an honorable mention guy in the Asia Cup over there. And then he played with their senior team in the Asia Cup qualifiers last year. So, this is a dude he's played some ball at a high level, given where he's at over there. He has a lot that he needs to sharpen up. I think he needs to tighten up the handle. There's some skill there. And I've always said about him, you can see the vision with some of the things that he does. He just really needs to refine it, to hone it, to sharpen it up. And I think he needs to tighten up that handle a little high with it, a little loose with it at times, which is tough if you're 6'8", 6'9", and you're dribbling up, chest high and everything. So, but he's got some stuff there. Needs to get more physical, more consistent as a shooter, but you can see it, right? We have to remember, even though he is older, he is coming in as a freshman. So he doesn't have to be a ready-made product right away. Some of these other international guys that you've seen are just in different situations. Like some of these guys who are coming to play for Illinois, they're just getting boatloads of NIL money. They're guys who are playing, at the top of the Adriatic League. And hey, I hope Arkansas goes out and gets a guy like that. I really do. Mentioned a lot of them on a show last week, right? Give me any of them. But those guys who, they're thinking coming in, one and done, get my payday here, and then I'm going to the league, man. And that's not the situation with Rtail. Probably a multi-year type of investment here. But what I'll say, man, he had flashes in just about every clip that I watched where I was like, oh, okay, there it is. I see it. I see the potential. I see the vision. Whether it was making a play in transition or ripping and blowing by a slower footed defender, finding a guy on a basket cut or in space that I didn't expect him to find. Dunking a basketball I didn't expect him to dunk, making a three I didn't expect him to make. I mean, there were several instances where I was like, honestly, what just kept coming to my mind as I was watching it, based on the feedback I got before, I was like, this dude ain't bad. So no, I really don't see him pushing Trevon, at the 4. And I'm not saying, I'm not sold he's going to be ready for consistent minutes in an SEC rotation next year. But what I will say is he's a hell of a lot closer to the type of 10th through 12th man on a legit roster than what Arkansas was working with last year. No disrespect to those guys. It's just true. I don't think it would be a situation to where if he checked into a game that we'd immediately be freaking out. Like, oh my God, we're screwed. No, the dude's played professionally with grown men for multiple years already. He'd be fine. He ain't bad. Anyway, I just want to throw that out there. Let's see. What else? Oh, yeah. I tell you what, let's shift gears to our What to Watch segment presented by Bryant Technologies, who handles all your network and security needs. They're dedicated to delivering high-quality network infrastructure and security camera solutions, taking pride in their exceptional workmanship and commitment to keeping your business operations seamlessly connected and secure. They can help you with a little bit of everything, whether it's structured cabling, security camera installation, digital signage, TV mounting. Bryant Technologies have you covered. They service the entire state of Arkansas and all of Arkansas's bordering states. Have Bryant Technologies help you with all your network and security needs. Give them a call, 870-883-0330, or check out their website at www.bryantstechnologies.com. What to watch? You guys remember, obviously, because we reference it quite a bit here, the show we did about a week ago where we went through and we broke down all of the available talent still left inside the top 150 of the high school senior class rankings, the class of 2025. What do we say? There was 15 guys who were available at the time, and a few of them have already come off the board. Well, here's what I'll say. I wish I would have scrolled just a little bit further, because right outside of that is a homegrown talent and former 5-star whose name has resurfaced as it relates to Arkansas in the last day or two in Benton's Terrion Burgess. I would imagine that's a very familiar name to most folks who listen to this podcast or, live in Arkansas, right? A young man who's not far removed at all from being a 5-star, a top 20 prospect in his class, moved from Marion to Benton to wrap his high school career. The next, big prospect set to come out of Arkansas. And I have so many visit pics shared on Twitter of him on campus. He probably visited 3 or 4 times in different capacities. And with the previous regime, when these guys would come on visits, we would get, we would all get different visit pics to put out there to promote it, which I always thought was fun. It was cool. But man, I had pictures of him with Muss, him with Blocker's little brother, him with Muss and Brew, all over the place. And the one thing I remember the most about it is every time I would put him out there, all the comments would be the same. Why is he not smiling? Why won't this kid smile? What's going on? That's because he was an assassin, man. He's a killer, serious businessman. He's not here for laughs. Anyway, it's crazy because he was a big time prospect, and then it's been absolute crickets, honestly, for the better part of a year. I think a combination of things at play. One, Arkansas had the coaching change, because it was Musselman and his staff that were recruiting him. Although I think they cooled just a little bit before they left. And then, in fairness, and we'll get into it here, a fairly significant stock drop with Burgess as a prospect. I actually thought I thought he was headed to Ole Miss for the longest, but I think I brought him up in the Discord a week or two ago. I just realized I hadn't heard anything at all on him for the better part of a year, like his entire senior year. It's just weird. But hey, according to some reporting out there, and shout out to CG, I believe, who initially brought it up over at Hog Sports, Arkansas might be making a move to try to swoop back in here late as he looks to make his commitment. I mean, it's about that time, like we said. Most of these programs are going to be moving in right after Memorial Day to start summer workouts. So it's decision time for these guys. If that's the case, I mean, this feels like this has Ronnie Brewer Jr. written all over it, And if they wound up getting him, it would also be another example of Cal filling out his roster, in the back end with youngsters, albeit this one with far more potential, right? Personally, and I'm curious what you guys think, and I know it's a little bit of a mixed bag over on the Discord. I would be 100% for this because I don't think it would be a situation where Arkansas would be bringing him in, expecting him to be the ninth man in the rotation or whatever. He played his way into it, sure, but I don't think that would be the case. For starters, I think that John Calipari, not that he needs it, but it would be a good faith move that would resonate with in-state talent and handlers and people who make those decisions moving forward. Would not be the home run that many thought it would be, but at this point, I think would be very much a low risk, high reward type of addition, like a why not? What do you have to lose type of deal. As a freshman and sophomore, Terrion really stood out. Like literally, he was head and shoulders above everyone else, but 6'8", athletic, was playing above the rim, just loaded with potential. But I got to say, like we've seen with so many others in Arkansas in recent years, for whatever reason, like Darian Ford, Honor Boateng come to mind. And don't get me wrong, there's no shade. Very, very good basketball players. But guys who, if you remember early when they came onto the radar, were borderline 5-stars because they were so much more physically developed than everybody else. And then they kind of plateaued while everyone else kind of caught up. And then you saw a drop. And it's been much more pronounced, honestly, in the case of Terrion than these other guys. I mean, D Ford and Honor both, I think, still wound up being top 50, top 40 guys. At 24/7 Sports, Terrion was as high as 17th nationally at one point. He was way up there. And he was still 35th in his class less than a year ago. In mid-June last year, still top 35. In the last update that came out, he had dropped all the way to number 161. 125 spot. That's a really steep drop, which makes you wonder what the heck is going on, right? Like, did he get injured or whatever? And the answer is, I mean, it's no. Like, he was, he's not continued his development anywhere near the rate that most expected him to. And some of it too is probably exposure to scouts related as well. But it's not like he fell off the face of the earth. I mean, you don't have to look too hard to figure out that he's still been balling. Terrion was recently named the Max Preps Arkansas Player of the Year. He led Benton to a 5A state title. I think they were like 30-3. And the dude put up numbies. He averaged 22 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, 3 blocks per game. That's stuff in the stat sheet. That's what you would expect for one of the top prospects in the class in Arkansas. Shot 55% from the field, solid, 40% from 3. If you're 6'8", 6'9", I like that. 2,000 point scorer in his high school career. So that, the accolades are there. So to me, like, worst case, he would be an Arkansas native wearing a Razorback jersey who would be a massive upgrade at practice compared to the back of last year's roster. I'm just saying. I mean, let's line up and play a 3-on-3 game between, Isaiah Sealy, Karim Rtail, and Terrion Burgess versus, Cash Mello and Aiden Kelly or whatever. No disrespect. It would be a much deeper and talented group. Just would. And then best case, he comes in, works his tail off, develops under the staff, recaptures some of that potential that he was once so heralded for, and can become a guy down the road who could really, help the program in the future. So I am much bigger fan of, high upside and actual development for the future guys than the whole come here and practice with zero chance to ever contribute and leave after a year guys, which is kind of what Arkansas, with the exception of Jaden, had this past season. And I know Cal's big on, hey, I'm not trying to coach somebody for a year and develop them just so they can go play for somebody else. I get it. I do. But if you do that and they leave, who cares? Right? I mean, like, you're John Calipari, man. You're still going to get your guys, but when you want more balance on your roster with retention versus freshman versus portal, then you have to have some guys like that, So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Ole Miss, Memphis, Wichita State, Missouri, Little Rock, several schools who have been in the conversation there with Terrion. I do not know how many of those are still committable offers. Obviously the Arkansas stuff, it just started to pick up a little steam, and had heard that there had, at least been some renewed conversation. How serious or fast moving, that's up for debate here. Outside of that, honestly, it felt like Wichita State, and then more recently Little Rock, with the Ole Miss stuff. And again, for a while there, I thought that was where he was going. But honestly, I really haven't heard that much for several months on that front. So I'm going to put in some, I'm recording Wednesday evening. When I get off here, I'm going to put in some text and to some folks over there and just kind of try to get a feel for where other people feel like this might be at. But it's interesting. And of course, no sooner than things start to heat up from a smoke standpoint, though, why does this keep happening? But then, the men's basketball account puts out a tweet just kind of welcoming the 2025 freshman class with all their accolades, almost like there was some finality to it. That's just how it felt. Does that disqualify Arkansas from adding another high school player? Of course not. But, I always connect dots, and, it's like if they were really getting ready to add another one, especially an in-state guy, wouldn't it make sense to just hold on to that tweet and that graphic for a few more days? And maybe I'm reading too much into it. I probably am overthinking it, but that's where we're at. Right. And again, anyway, I'll do some more digging around, see if smoke leads to fire at all here, but at least it's something a little bit different to hypothesize on, to talk about, to debate, to consider the possibilities with on, while we wait in misery for another move. So I was excited to see that. And it gave us a little bit of something here. But at any rate, there you have it, folks. Going to dip out for the day here. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of your day. enjoy Arkansas beating up on those Longhorns down there on the field over at Baum. And we'll be back bright and early in the morning, 6 a.m. As always, you know the drill. Make sure you get subscribed, or you need to get subscribed over at the Inside Arkansas YouTube page. We're so close to 10,000. I'm not a big, numbers guy, follower count guy. I don't really care, but the milestones are big ones, and 10K is a big one. We're going to be really excited when we hit that, and it would be, it hasn't always been smooth selling over here. We've been through a lot. So for this thing to be catching on the way that it has, it's really, really cool. We're super grateful, thankful for everybody's support. And we're going to be pumped when we get there. And it's going to be a major shout out to you guys who have been along for the ride for sure. And then find us where you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, the Pod at the Palace over there as well. I'm going to get out of here. We'll see you guys bright and early in the morning. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Y'all have a good one.